All right, fade the music out. Faded. We're live. Welcome to another the Spincast Cycling Show. I'm your host, Brian Kellison, Lisa Reese, Casey Shum. No Brian White. He's Florida on weathering the Hurricane Helene. Correct? Correct me if I'm
Living it
wrong.
up on the beach.
Yeah. All the people that have been displaced. Sorry to hear about that. And hopefully everyone gets back to normal as soon as possible. We in California are West Coast. I mean, Lee is in the West Coast. We have earthquakes and fires, so I know what it's like. Not to get too deep into it, but sometimes we have to prepare for those things, the aftermath and everything from that. So hope everyone's safe. Getting into the topics of the show. We just talked about a reckless speculation, but we'll get into that. Maybe we should get into that right away because that was a good juicy thing about Zwift. But we do want to talk about Zwift racing score again. But
yes, again,
the reckless speculation Casey just dropped this on us was Zwift Power is going on maintenance tomorrow, and you're saying that they're going to wipe all the categories.
What are they doing? They never bring Zwift Power down for maintenance. That's been the argument for, a few years. Like, Zwift is doing nothing with Zwift Power. And Zwift Racing Score went live in production 4 days ago, right? With the World Series races, along with the few others that had been Racing Score. But October 7th, every race on the community calendar is Zwift Race Score, except for ZRL and the TTTs. So other than the WTRL controlled races, everything on the calendar goes to Zwift Racing Score. So then you go, why has Zwift Power got downtime for maintenance? And we were just saying last week that Zwift Power has 4 scores or 4 categories or scores or something related to categorization or scoring on their profile page. And that was confusing. Right? You got Zwift Racing Score, you got Zwift Power Score, there's another racing score on there, and then you had your ABCD categories. I can't hear you, Lee.
I can't hear him either.
I can't, yep.
We can't hear you. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll talk for Lee while he figures it out. But we were talking about this when I was in my car and I was in San Diego.
Yep.
Where we have all these things, and it's like, it goes back to the college football thing with there used to be the coaches poll and then the AP poll, which is the press, right? Associated Press poll. We also spoke about this right before we came on the air. That sorry, we're changing. I don't think they should say sorry. I think you should say we're just doing this and that's it. And it's like, live with it. And I wish they would do that.
Right. So we are critical of Zwift a lot. This one, I gotta hand it to them. There's been comments out there on Facebook. I shouldn't even say comments. There's been small novels written about how this is bad. And James Bailey's response to it is, in order for this to work, it has to be the volume of racing matters. How much people racing and applying those races to the scoring is what makes this a good program. And this is where they're going, period. Like they're
racing, because we touched on this when it first came out, like 2 months ago, about how just regular riding or doing a workout affected it, right? Or is it now just racing?
From my understanding is your placement, your finish position in races that use race score is what impacts your race score. But every race is going to be a race score race unless it is a privately set up race. Unless it is set up through a group, a club event, something like that, it's going to be, if it's on Zwift's public calendar, it uses race score, period.
Okay.
You can't, like 3R is not going to be able to come in and say, we want our stuff to be ABCD. They're saying, nope, We're working with our organizers, and the organizers that are on the public calendar will be on Race Score on October 7th, period.
Regardless if it's a series that's already occurring.
Yeah, they're saying everything.
That's converting to it.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, oh, well, this was grandfathered in or whatever.
Right. And they may give a little leeway. You know, you don't know if somebody comes back and is like, hey, we're in race 4 out of 8 and let us go. You know, I think there's some leeway that they could give there in special circumstances. But they're saying, like, because there's been some pushback, you know, like, well, what if I want to create this? And they're like, do a private race. Like, if it's on the public calendar, it is using Race Score.
And so I'm on my I can share my screen if I want here, unless Lee wants to. Lee, you going to test your mic?
It's working.
Yeah, it's working now. All right, great. The pace group is B still for me. And so pace group is still going to stick around, or is that the category that's going to be gone?
They haven't said specifically if we'll still see that pace group letter. I shouldn't say that. I haven't seen where they've said that's going away. I think our opinion, between the three of us, is that ABCD just needs to no longer be a thing for anything. They just need to reset that, right? Like even the pacer bots, right? Like I'd rather them take the ABCD categories away from them and just state what their pace is, right? This is the 2.4 bot. This is the 3.0 bot. I think that would be better. They just need to completely wipe out the letters. I have noticed lately, when you join the Zwift Racing Score races now, there's not even a letter for the category pins anymore.
No, I raced.
And
there was no. I didn't see B. It was race with.
You're still green, right? The color green goes with the B. You're still green on the mini map, but there is no reference to the B anymore, right? The B is you're in the second pin. And you're green. That's it. Like you're in your
I don't even think I was
mini
green.
map. In your mini map. It's not on the riders nearby. It's only in the mini map.
No, in the mini map, I think I was just blue.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Just like the regular, we have video evidence. You can go back and look at my last stream. But I think it was just, I wasn't looking at mini map when I was racing. Maybe I was, and I wasn't paying attention to it. Maybe it is. Maybe you're correct. But I'm saying that the letter wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it was just I was 350 to 550. I think that was more 300 to 550. And I went from 479 to 506 now. And I finished 7th. And I raced with Nathan from In the Drops. He was in the race as well. So it's like, I still don't understand what it doesn't tell you in the finish of the race. Like it didn't, I can look at it here, but that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't really tell you in the game. Like this is all outside of the game.
If you look in the companion app after the race, the event should tell you kind of if you increased or decreased. And then it changes overnight. That part's still a little clunky. I'd like to see the real-time adjustments be a little more accurate, but I think that's a little thing. I'd either rather see, I think the real-time adjustments either need to be really accurate or a lot better than they are now, or they just need to not adjust at all in real time and just your score adjusts every night at midnight, right?
Man, for what everybody went up in our race. 1 through 8 went up, and we only had 15 people in the race. Oh my goodness! Somebody went up, and their race score is 28.
I will admit, and I probably won't do this again. I felt bad kind of after I did it. I double dipped, the evil double dip, in a race score race the first day it was out. And I'm trying to look here to see. I finished 9th out of 9 in the 3rd category of a race, and I lost 25.
This microphone just died.
It's microphone night.
Yeah. My USB cord came out of the mic. Got me.
There we go. We're back. Yeah. You got a cat. For all the audio only audience, we have a microphone going out, and we have a cat jumping up to try to unplug the whole stream in the background.
So I lost 25 points for finishing last 9th in a race. I looking at where that race finished, actually, I probably would have finished 5th or 6th in it. There was some pretty strong guys in there. If I hadn't been, I was intending on racing 2 races at once, but I got so focused on IndieVelo that I just lost track of the Zwift one and ended up out the back, which is fine. I won't do that often because I feel like that's a little bit of it's a false drop in score for me, and it dropped me a category actually. So
yeah, that's something you got to consider.
Yeah, because it dropped me. I seeded at 609, and it dropped me to 585, and around 600 is a break in one of those categories. So, sorry.
Yeah, it's 690 to 1000 now, and 520 to 690.
But I think in the end, I like Zwift's stance in this. They're not, we've been saying for a few weeks or longer that Zwift has kind of an identity crisis in the racing. And I like the stance that they took with this, where like, this is where we're going. And yes, we will review it as it goes and we may make minor tweaks, but they have said also, like, we're not changing this in 3 weeks because of the community reaction. Part of this being successful is you need people to establish long-term results in racing to get them to where they need to be. And we all need to understand in the first 30 days of this, everyone has not fully reached their kind of buoyancy point in the scores, right? People need to get some race score history. Those people that feel like people should be higher based on their power than where they were seated, you know what? If they're successful, they'll move up. It just takes a little bit of time. And the reality is no one other than the top A+ riders should be competitive at the top tier of every race in their race score going forward. If you are competitive in every single race for a podium, you will eventually move up to where you are not competitive, or you will be the top of pin 1, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone has to accept that at some point, if you're successful, you will continue to climb that ladder until you get your butt kicked and you drop. And that's going to be what I call your buoyancy point, right? I may, I'm good at, if I do a lot of flat races, I may climb that ladder. I may hit pin 1. They've got a series that's on a climb for a week. I'm going to drop 30, 40, 50 points that week if I keep entering pin 1 and getting my butt kicked. That's part of it, right? That's what this will do. Is no one should be stuck. No one should be stuck always losing, and no one should be able to always win.
Right. Yeah, that's the way instead of the immediate like, oh, you're sandbagging. It's more of like, hey, if you just try to race, it should find its way to level out and you get that buoyancy point, like you said.
Yeah, there's a lot of people looking at it and being like, oh, I looked at, my pin 3 for, the event at noon today had guys with the 20-minute power of 4.2, and I'm only a 2.9, and I shouldn't be in the same pin as them. And I'm like, well, they kick your butt for a couple weeks, they're going to move up. Or you're out the bottom for a couple weeks, you're going to move down, right? Like, I also think people should stop looking at stuff like that and just race. Like, that's the thing, is they should just race and see what happens. Like, I just jumped into the, whatever it is, the Bell Lap thing. And it was like, oh, here's the recommended points thing. I was like, oh, it had 15 people or whatever it was. Okay, I'll race this. And I hadn't raced in a while. And I was like, oh, I got to stay in. And so I feel like I finished where I tried a couple attacks here and there. I'm not super fit right now, but I felt like the competition was right around where I am, and it was fun. Yeah, it's that sort of like breaking that mentality. Hopefully the letters disappear more from racing. You can have a pace group, whatever my pace group thing is, like, oh, where you probably should is racing or ride in Bs. Is that what the pace group thing is now for? Like, you should do a B bot because that's where you are, or should you push yourself to be an A bot? I mean, I don't understand what if we're going to get rid of the letters and focus on the racing score, why even have the pace group letter?
No, they got to get rid of it. Gone.
Yeah, I think it needs to go. If they keep it, it's going to cause confusion with the racing side of it. I mean, I could understand an argument for keeping it specifically for group rides, right? It's a pace category for group rides.
Mhm.
I like a B group ride, other people like a C group ride, that kind of thing. But I think it's been so ingrained in the racing side of it that it may just be confusing, and they just need to, there's that little box that has like 2.0 to 2.5 that they can do in a group ride. They just need to get rid of the letter altogether and just
I
state
think
what
they
the
should,
group ride is.
and I think they should, and they shouldn't be apologetic about it at all. And I think the identity crisis thing you touched on earlier is they should be driving what they want to do for racing. If they're going to embrace racing, this is racing, and piss off the community or whatever, excuse me, piss off the community in the little slice of community that is like, oh, if I did a race like the recovery racing, the casual racing, all of that, yeah, okay. You're not going to have the, oh, I can jump into a race and sandbag and get away with it. It's more like, no. When you're racing, you're going to be doing this because we're dictating this. And then all the other stuff that you can do for fun in Zwift and enjoy that, the route badges and the group rides and the events to get your kit and all that other stuff, that has nothing to do with racing score. It has nothing to do with racing score. So don't worry about it. That's my take. And I hope Zwift does that and just goes, you know what, we're doing this.
So far, they're being pretty firm on this, and I'm surprised it's coming as fast as it did, and I'm surprised they came as firm as they did. So I have to applaud them that they're at least they're doing what they need to do for it to be successful. Because I think if they were soft with it, it was always gonna fail because the people would drive away from it, just because they don't want to embrace something new. It's a change.
I think that's one of my things with Zwift is sometimes they don't buy into their own change.
Yeah.
Like they're, especially with the XP, right?
Yeah. I think the hard part to some people, there's already the big whines out on Facebook because where they started was this World Series racing that are longer and tougher courses. So we all know, like me as a B, there's Bs that are a lot stronger than me from an endurance perspective. If I get into a long climbing race with Bs, even when I was a B, right? Like when we get to the climb, I'm mid-pack at best, right? You go past a 5-minute power and those guys are gone because they're going to hold 4 to 4.2 all the way up the climb. And I just can't do that. So you got these people, kind of crying this week because the World Series, like, I can't stay with this group. And if it was a C category, I'd be able to stay at the front. And it's like, so you're complaining because you used to be able to win every sprint in the C category. And now you can't win every climb in your category also, right? Like, accept the fact that you might be a flat land racer now. And when it comes to the climbs, you're mid-pack. And I said this off stream, right? Like, does Cavendish not belong in the Tour because he gets dropped on the climbs? Like, he's good at a discipline, and I think we're going to have more people that are better at specific disciplines in Zwift using this score because results matter. Yeah.
And that I lost my train of thought.
He gets dropped on climbs, and he's the most winningest Tour de France stage winner of all time.
Right. I mean, I argued with the Zwift race. I shouldn't say I argued with the Zwift racing score. It felt bad to me when I was looking at it and like, I'm stuck in the top category. I don't belong here. But then on the other side of it, I objectively looked at my results and like, okay, I podiumed 12 races in a row to get to the top category. And I kept saying, I'm going to join this race and I'm going to be out the back and I'm going to go drop to the lower category. And I kept getting 4th, 5th, 4th.
Yeah, right. You push yourself.
And I'm like, well, crap. I say I don't belong here. These guys should be beating me, but they're not.
Yeah, I remember what I wanted to say. Yeah. It was the Zwift World Series community stuff people are complaining about, not the actual Zwift World Series.
Right. The community,
which is totally, and that's the thing is the community racing the casual racing community we need a shakeup, and I hope that this shakes it up to go, hey, we finally have tooled with it and done the Zwift Labs thing with it. And now we're deploying it and you just have to accept it and get over it. You
I'm
can
excited
go do
to race it.
Yeah. And You do your thing with the casuals, the casual racing and stuff like this is what we're gonna do, and hopefully it sort of like changes the stigma and the sort of like ingrained preconception of like, oh, you're B, you have you're just this. It's like, no. You just race, and if you do well, like Casey's doing, like, hey, if you get in the lead group, great. I'm going to increase scores. Maybe I can win the lead group. Maybe I can win the sprint. I don't know. Push yourself, race, mix it up.
It's a badge of honor, right? You learn how to race good enough to be like, I shouldn't have done this good, but I'm either that good or they're that bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? It's you got to learn how your racecraft.
Yeah.
So I think it's good, and I'm excited for the calendar to be full of them, because I've wanted to do more of them, but they weren't scheduled at good times to do them through this kind of beta
right. And now you say it,
they're rolling out.
Yeah, October 7th. It's all of them are going to be that way.
Yeah, in 10 days, and basically, if it's on your little event thing in your companion app, it should be a score-based thing, unless it's ZRL, which are, I guess, they're invite only really anyway, right? You got to go to a different link to get into those.
Yeah, which I'm not in. I'm not doing ZRL, ZRL, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah. So, is that the?
No, I think it's fantastic. I've been calling for race score for years, and as much as we rag on Zwift, I rag on Zwift. This is the best thing Zwift has done in a long, long time. Once
are you
they
sure?
Oh, totally sure, 100%. Zwift's racing score. What else have they done that is going to progress competition evenly as racing score?
From racing innovation.
Yeah, like A, B, C, D categories. Those were never fair. The difference between the top B and low B is like 50 watts FTP. How is that like even remotely close? And people excel and do better in different things. Maybe you are good on the flats and you can't climb. Your racing score is going to reflect that. The racing score is constantly going to be adjusting, and you're going to be racing against people who are close to you. So it should be good competition all the time.
I vote Pack Dynamics 4 point whatever it is now. That's what I vote.
Yeah, that's.
But like, hey, that's why I'm saying, are you sure? Because I'm more of a Pack Dynamic, because that's a physics thing, and you know me, I love physics. But I am with you on the hey, this is big. I don't know if it's as big as Pack Dynamics, that push for hey, let's fix some stuff.
I think in 6 months from now, no one's going to even remember I was a B or I was a C. They're going to realize after they've done half a dozen races of how well the score works.
Okay.
I mean, it's not perfect. There's going to be tweaks. Pack Dynamics has been tweaked for 9-10 years. I'm sure racing score is going to need tweaks to the algorithm. But in general, I'm glad they finally did it. And they finally said, here's the date. We're doing this. It's kind of like RGT with steering, when they're like, we have steering.
Yeah.
Oh,
we're not going back. Yeah, they were like, we got steering, we got lanes, and we got steering. We're not going back.
Maybe that wasn't the best decision.
Well, they could have done it a different way. If they would have made it like bike terra steering.
Zwift is finally saying,
oh, man,
this is what we're doing. Here it is. Everyone's doing it. So yay to Zwift. Good job, Zwift.
Good job, Zwift. Another good job. I got to give them credit for this. They've got my brother on the bike. I introduced him to Zwift. So I was talking about this on my stream yesterday or 2 days. Yeah, whenever it was. My brother's not a cyclist. I mean, he rides a mountain bike. We got a mountain bike on a trainer. I had an old V4, Kicker V4 that he's had in his closet for like 2 years, 2-3 years. I finally got him on it, and it's like, there's the little incentives that, there's a course, there's a route, that is a good thing that I like. It wasn't, didn't have to do Peloton and all the other stuff. It was Apple TV to a Kicker, and he was on, and he had a smile on his face. And so now he's riding his e-bikes with his buddies. He's like, yeah, I need to get some mountain bike pants, because I guess he goes and there's like brush and stuff that he goes and rides in San Diego. So it's like, that is another positive. So win-win.
And that's a good example of probably what wasn't a big important thing to the three of us, but
No.
you kind of hit on it, BK, is it's easier now than it was 7 years ago to get
Yes.
connected with Zwift. The tools that you need to connect with, the instructions it takes to get connected. You know, if you go the Apple TV route with a mainstream trainer now, a lot of that stuff sets up pretty easy, as long as you're not going complex elite racing kind of setups. You know,
It was harder. It was actually, he couldn't even, because he doesn't know his password to get into his Apple ID, like his wife has it and everything like that. And I had to like authorize the connectivity to download. I had to put my Apple ID into his app. He didn't know that. He's a very smart person. He works on cars. But he's just like, I don't have time for all this computer stuff. And so I had got the thing, I got it downloaded, got him into it, and he was up and running. The navigating to do the sign up, the stuff that took longer than him to just get up and running. It's like the keyboard in the Apple TV, all, you know, like selecting his name and doing all these. But once he was in, and he was like, oh, it just runs. And that is the simplicity of it. Now, it used to be much harder, but if you have a smart trainer, it's boom. So yeah, like the Wahoo Kickers version 7, which just worked right into it. Oh, not version 7, version
6,
4. Sorry.
4. Oh, yeah, he's got version 4. Wow, you jumped way from 4
he had
to
a version.
7.
He has a version 4.
Okay.
And so like he was like, that's why, because I had a 5 and then I went to the 6. Yeah. And so he has one of my old ones that I bought off my buddy.
Didn't you go to the 6 and then the Move, or did you?
No, yeah. I had a V4, then I had a V5, then I went to the V6, then I went to the Move. And so that's where he's on the old V4, and he updated the firmware to whatever it was, like 3.57 or something like that. I can't remember what it was. So I had it worked even before it gave race score, and it like it didn't even have the sleep firmware. You know, when the light it goes to sleep. So he updated there. So yeah, so many numbers, whatever. It worked.
That's cool.
He's on. He's riding. Now he's asking me about, oh, I need to buy pants. Like, he just needed a ride. So that's the sort of thing that's cool about Zwift, simplicity of it. Now, there's a lot of people that bought his, a Zwift Ride.
Yep.
The Zwift Ride is another way for people to just get on and go. Like, they just get
a lot of broken Zwift rides.
Uh-oh.
Really?
Maybe not broken, but I mean, you always see more complaining, but I've seen about half a dozen pictures on social media of messed up bolts. This doesn't work. They're sending me a new bolt kit for the handlebars, you know, things like that. But I mean,
manufacturing gremlins, right? There's a lot of that stuff, aluminum.
I don't really take it to heart. I'm not like, wow, the Zwift Ride is horrible, but you know, it's not the most expensive, probably highest quality frame out there, but
as long as it's durable. I mean, we briefly hit on this. I was watching Big Trouser Pants the other night, and or big trouser bikes. I always call them Big Pants. And he was like, hey, you know, what do I do next? You know, he's thinking about a kicker bike. And then, like, the more we sat there and talked about it, he's on a V6 now, and he's like, I think I may just buy the ride combo and sell the core, right? Put the ride on the V6. I'm like, it's going to do everything that the kicker bike does, and you're putting $1,000 into it instead of a couple thousand. Other than, I mean, he wouldn't have the climb function, but he could get the kicker climb and do that too with that.
So he wants to buy the ride with the core.
I think he was just itching, like, I need an upgrade, right? And he wants I think he's Canadian, right? So he's interested in the virtual shifting stuff, and you can't get the plays, but he can order the ride and the core combo and get that in Canada. So, and it'll work on the trainer he's got. So he's like, I think I may just buy the kit, you know, the full thing with the core, and just sell the core as a, you know, new in box on Marketplace. And
I know we've talked about this offline. I feel that the rise of the frame is going to be the death of the true smart bike. I mean, there'll
I
probably always be a market for the high end smart bike, but the smart bike technology, if you go and buy a $4,000 smart bike, you're stuck with it. You buy a $1,200 Zwift ride, when the Kicker V7 comes out, you can go buy a Kicker V7. Now your bike is still up to date. You have the
yeah.
best technology, and you're not riding like a 5-year-old smart bike.
Yeah, I went through that concept too because I got it in that really cheap Stages deal with the SB20 bike. Was it
Oh,
like
you were one of those.
yeah, like
So many
1,400
people
bucks?
bought. Yeah.
Yeah. But the reality the reason I got rid of it wasn't that I really had a problem with it, but I was facing the reality of when this thing fails, and Stages was being real sketchy at that point with their customer service. So I was starting to get a little concerned because Stages was starting to fall off the cliff at that point. And I'm like, okay, I am not going to get myself in a corner where it's going to be $3,000 to upgrade this piece of kit. And that's what you're looking at, right? I had a smart bike, and an equivalent smart bike is $2,500, $3,000. And that's when the Kicker or the Zwift Hub 1 came out. I was like, all right, I'm going to jump on this. I sold the SB20 for $1,100, and I bought the Hub 1 for what, 400, 500 bucks. I pocketed $600 dumping the smart trainer. I always intended on selling this bike behind me, just because I didn't need it anymore. It was my indoor only bike. It was still sitting in the corner. So I was like, I'll pocket 600 bucks and go virtual shifting, the kind of the perks of a smart bike, but build my own. And I think that's the way for people like us. There's going to be people that want the simple, buy one big thing, use it, no big deal. But I think for a lot of us, I think this frame combo thing might be the way of the future.
I kind of agree, but then I think the full package smart bike is still a viable thing. And I understand the what is it, the versatility that Lee brings up. But there is something about the one thing I don't like about the Ride is you can't shift. You can't use it with other platforms. You can only use it with the hub, right? There's no shifting, so you have to have the cog thing, right?
Yeah, it has a very specific, thing that goes in place of the cassette because it's not a standard chain or whatever. So,
and you can buy those separately now.
It only works with Zwift, right? It'll interface with any Zwift ready trainer, which is what all the Kickers and the newer Kickers, and was it Elite has got a few now, or somebody's just releasing a few.
There's the
new
Justo
Victory,
2,
yeah,
and there's like this, yeah.
Anything that'll virtual shift with the plays will work with the Ride. Basically, is what it comes down to.
But it doesn't do the Kicker climb stuff or the riser.
Correct. But the concept that Elite's doing with the Square could be the broader frame market, right?
Well,
where it's not pigeonholing you into Zwift.
I think the Elite is going on the more high end side of the frame. Like the Zwift is basic, where Elite's got a few more options. They have the adjustable cranks, where that's sort of the one problem with Zwift. But I can see, like it's still two parts. You still have a frame and you still have a trainer. So like BK was saying, there still will be a market for someone that wants to say, I just want to buy one thing. Right. It's all a package. It's all together. I can get on it and ride it. I don't have to worry about taking or assemble, doing any sort of assembly.
I'm a frugal guy, so I like the idea of like this roadmap, right? Where I can lay out to be like, this is where I want to be in 3 years. This year, I'm gonna buy my Kicker V6, right? And then next year, I'm gonna buy my frame, and I'm gonna buy the Elite Square because that gives me the virtual shifting, and that's another $1,000 in a year from now. That doesn't make my V6 obsolete, right? It fits into that, and then a year after that, I'm gonna buy my climb, whatever my climb tool of choice is, to do the climbing part of it.
Yeah, and the Elite Square does virtual shifting for all apps,
right?
Like a smart bike.
And for me, I'm not going to corner myself into an app at this point. Like,
Right.
I like my virtual shifting on Zwift. I wish all the platforms had it. They don't. I pull my plays off and I ride other apps.
Yeah, I was even thinking about getting the Zwift plays for my brother, but he's on a mountain bike, and I'm like, does he even want that? And do they even connect to the Apple TV? That's the other thing I was worried
They
about.
will. They will work with the
They
Apple
will?
TV, but it's taking one of your Bluetooth connections, so you get
So you
into
lose
that
your heart
weird,
rate
like,
monitor.
you got to start
And
using the
I want him
companion
on a
app.
heart rate. He needs to get
Yeah.
off the heart rate.
Well, see, that brings us to like trainers like the Jet Black trainers who
Bridge.
ingest heart rate and refeed it as one Bluetooth connection.
Yeah, but that's
I
more of
can't
a
believe Wahoo hasn't implemented that yet.
yeah. I don't know. There might be a reason why they don't do it. I don't know why. Jet Black seems like they're just rogue, and they can do that because I don't think there's any other trainers that do that, right?
There's a few more that are doing it now. It's starting to be a little more common, I think, to do that Bluetooth bridging. But I think it's specifically to cure the Zwift, Apple TV connection problem. I'd like to see more of them do it. It seems like they all should have the tech to do it. It should be software, not hardware, to do it.
But wouldn't the Wi-Fi solve that? So if you the Wahoo has Wi-Fi on most of their trainers.
Yeah, I don't know
and
how
then the trainer goes to Wi-Fi, and then you don't need an extra Bluetooth.
I don't know how Apple TV works with direct. You're talking about direct connect, like you and I are
direct
doing
connect
with
Wi-Fi, not like direct, because there's some direct connect Wi-Fi, like the second version of the Kicker bike.
Oh, the Wahoo Direct Connect.
Wahoo Direct Connect
Bluetooth protocol, so it actually takes up Bluetooth.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Apple TV version of Zwift, if it'll actually take a Duracon connection or if it just takes a Bluetooth connection for the Kicker.
I'm gonna go test that after we do this, because I have an Apple TV sitting in my garage. Because that's how I started Zwift, was with Apple TV. It was awesome. It's like $250 Canadian. Boom.
We need Wi-Fi heart rate monitors.
Wi-Fi. They'd be like this big. Like Iron Man, like Wi-Fi router.
Everybody'd start growing a tumor, right?
Yeah.
Like all the
5G on your chest.
Reckless. There's reckless speculation.
There you go. Yeah.
No, we're just reckless speculation there. So yeah,
well, they just need a bridge mode.
With my brother.
There's a lot of things with bridge. There's that North device that does bridging.
Yeah,
4i heart rate monitor does bridging, and that's just what Jet Black has added. Jet Black is a bridge. You can pair other devices.
Zwift offers that through your phone, so I mean, he can do it through his phone. Like you pair the stuff through his phone. But I was just trying to get him to be more like engaged with the game. But he's just I'm just doing meetups with him, and he's just riding around the same speed. Like we just stick together, so he doesn't get dropped by me.
You can still do the rubber band meetups too, right? Like if you want to ride hard, just home along.
I showed him like this is like I'm going like 3 watts per kilo, and he's doing like 1.5.
Then you got to scream at him, right? Because like I did that with somebody, and then they kept coasting. I'm like, you can't coast. You got to pedal. Yeah. You can pedal 5 watts, but you got to pedal.
He pushed well. He did really well. I just got to get him on a heart rate monitor because I don't want him to like have a heart issue where he's like, I don't feel good. And I'm like, well, we got to know what's going on. So
I do agree. I see a comment here while we're on this topic. I think Lee completely agrees with this also. In the drops, one of our fellow podcasts said they need to sell the handlebars. Like absolutely.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
When they actually first announced the Zwift ride, where it was reckless speculation, where people were posting like patent pictures and stuff, and I totally thought it was just going to be a handlebar because that would be perfect. But my V5, it doesn't have virtual shifting.
I think the tech for that, I think, is all in the handlebars too. I think the frame is just material. I don't think there's any electronics outside of the handlebar. Like I'll go buy the ride and just take the bars off and put them on my own bike, because then you can do whatever you want with the cranks and
shifters. And the controllers on the ride are way nicer than the Play, because they're actually like real hoods, for the handlebar, where the Play is designed to sort of be an add-on to your existing handlebar. I would buy the handlebar in a second if they would release it.
And then you got to figure out how to put a nice little bar end shifter in there to ride other platforms, right? Just click
Yeah,
the
well, that's
bar.
the thing. That's what's limiting me is I don't
Yeah.
ride in Zwift really, so I can't be limited.
Yeah, you're about Ruby.
Love Ruby.
So
Ruby.
so
which,
our last Swift topic, I think, and then we can
Okay.
go on to Ruby and IndieVelo. ZRL, right? We're halfway through the first season.
Already? Seems so
Yeah, well,
soon.
it's a quick one. It was basically TTT, points race, scratch race, and now we're going into TTT number 2, points race number 2, scratch race number 2, and that's the first round. And then which at the end of the first round is when they should have reset things. So like my team reset after the TTTs. We got last place in the points race, so we got 13 out of 13 in the points race. We got 10th out of 13 in this last scratch race.
Are you bitter going into this TTT?
Honestly, I want to win this TTT just to say shove it. Because we got 4th in the TTT. So it's just understanding that different teams are better at different things. If you had 3 of me on my team, we could compete for top 5 overall in this group. But we don't. Like I did the best I could in the scratch race and got 16th. And I scored over half of my team points and we ended up 10th. And it just, what it takes to be competitive in it is tough. I liked the format. I liked the race. Everything about it, other than I still struggle with the balance within them. But it's not, I don't know. It's tough. I held on. I was shocked. I held on, honestly, to the end of it. It was a tough course. I forget the name of it on the scratch race. It's the one where coming right out of the pin in McCurry, you turn and go up into you turn up the climb. It's the traditional starting pins in the original McCurry, and you turn and go straight up to that center.
Well, that hill is
little
deceptively
temple.
steep.
Yeah. So right out of the hit, it's a 4-minute dig, right? Just boom. And then we go all the way out to the newest section, right? Dropping all the way down. You do the little midsection climb, and then you got to climb back out of that new section to the start finish. So it was a hard country to coastal. Thank you in the drops, yeah. But I'm like I said, I'm happy with it. Still frustrated about what ZRL did to begin with. With that, I felt like they should have waited till the end of round 1 to shuffle it. But we're going into the back half of the season. I think we'll finish 10th, 11th overall in our standings. I hope they move people a little, like Zwift Racing Score, right? I hope they move people more aggressively to give teams an opportunity to be winners and losers and comers and goers more than just shifting 1 or 2 teams every round.
Well, I'm happy for you. I have not followed ZRL. What is it in now?
Zwift
Racing
ZRL, Zwift Racing League.
Zwift.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not covered like it used to be because we weren't pandemic, and it's like, does it even matter? I mean, it's just a fun thing. It's just a fun thing.
Covered like it used to be, right? You got to get involved with a team. Like that's where it's fun for me. Is it's the camaraderie between 10 or 12 guys that are on the team, right? And honestly, though, our team's kind of lost its mojo with that upgrade. Like when we got forced up to Division 1, like we had a hard time putting a team together last week because they don't want to show up and get their butts kicked, and that's what's happening right now. They're frustrated.
So you get up every week for it. You're like, oh, I'm really excited, and the team gets up and gets excited for it.
I'm not. I don't get excited. Now I'll get excited for the TTT. No, I didn't get excited for it this week. I did well, but I didn't get excited for it because I was frustrated with where we're at. Yeah. Honestly, the racing that I'm enjoying the most right now is the ladder racing, and you don't hear anything about that. The ladder racing's fun.
And the other thing, which we were going to go into, but the IndieVelo stuff.
Yeah, we'll
get into that.
But
I think what you touched on, the good thing with ZRL was the team aspect. Yeah. I raced way more ZRL seasons than I actually wanted because I really enjoyed riding with my team.
Yeah.
There was a good bunch of dudes and we had fun. But it's kind of funny, like in a 6 or 8 race series, we would get to about race 6 and go, kind of done.
Yeah.
I
Like,
did the first season. It was 10 races,
but
and I was burned out.
it's old hat now. It's like old now. Like when it first came out, this was like, wow, Zwift is doing a race series for the average person. This is amazing. Let's get it on. And we would like go and do race. But and what now since like 4 years of this, and how many seasons per year? 3 seasons per year?
3 or 4,
It's a
yeah,
lot of
it's a
racing.
lot. Yeah, and curious to see. They haven't said for sure. They originally said ZRL wasn't going to use race score this season. I took it as like this winter, like it was going to be 2025 before we were going to see racing score in ZRL. But there's been some comments more recently from some stuff from WTRL and from Zwift that I think it might get pushed in mid-season here. So we don't know when that's coming. In the drops hinted at it here in chat too, where I think there's some speculation that racing score is going to somehow get integrated into
Folded in.
CRL. Yeah, and I think that would be a good thing. Similar to what we do in ladder.
Steering not allowed still?
Oh, no, steering's not allowed, and that makes me angry. It's the only races I join now where I get the big pop up to say steering disabled, braking disabled, and I'm like, why? I never get mad at Zwift for my road placement when I can control it. And when they control it and I can't put myself where I want to be, I always get mad. It frustrates me.
I'm glad that you're excited. I don't get excited for it anymore. It's like,
I shouldn't say I get excited. I'm passionate about it.
My team almost came out of retirement. About June, because we still have like a team Discord outside of like the dirt team Discord. And in June, someone was like, hey, September, ZRL. And everyone was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's bring the team back. And then as it got closer to September, everyone was like, nah, I don't want to anymore. Got kids. Kids football is on Tuesdays. Track practice is on Tuesdays.
Football. American football or Canadian football?
I think actually in Canada, the little kids play American football. And then once they go to college, it transitions to Canadian football.
Okay.
Which is far superior than American football.
It is. I've watched it.
From a gameplay standpoint, it is. Yes.
Yeah, you have one extra player. I think you can have 12 people
on the field. It's longer, it's wider.
And the field goal is still in the middle of the end zone, so you can run into it.
Post if you
I'm a Bears fan. Everything's better than American football because we are always terrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
CFL is all about the passing, and there is some ridiculously high passing games of like huge. Because if you make the field way bigger and only add one more person, there's a lot of free space.
All right. Sorry, I'm yawning. All right, let's move on to the IndieVelo sort of like tour. I think this was community led.
Yeah.
Like general classification.
Yeah.
What's up, Lee?
Well, I was gonna say I didn't go in the tour, but I definitely watched Casey race the tour.
Oh yeah.
I am smoked, guys. Like that started Wednesday, and the way we talked about it last Sunday, right? And I was like, oh, I got to go find this. And Toto, the organizer, has been in my stream almost every time I've streamed it, which has been great. So I've been giving him some feedback too from kind of the community. Like it was hard for us to find. And he's like, well, where are you looking? And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not looking for it. So unless you club me over the head with it, I probably aren't, not going to find it. But, kind of through the podcast, I got connected with it. And my original thought was like, oh, I'm going to look it up, but it's going to be like Europe evenings and I'm never going to be able to get in all the rides. And it's like, wait, he scheduled one every 3 hours for 24 hours for everyone. So, but it broke in North America evening. Like at 4 p.m., I could do stage 3, and at 8 p.m., I could do stage 4, right? It broke, like at 4 p.m. was the last of the previous day's stage, and 5 p.m. was the first of the next day's stage. So I rode Wednesday night, and then I turned around and I rode at noon on Thursday, the next stage. And then at 8 p.m. Thursday night, I rode the next stage. So in like 27 hours, I rode 3 stages to get caught up. And then on Friday, I did my Whoosh age group race at lunch.
Yep.
And then I came back Saturday, Sunday, and did the last 2 stages. So it was six races, time based. So there was an advantage if you got into a stage with a lot of strong guys that pulled the pack faster, right? Especially on the flat stuff, because it was your time on stage 3 was added to your time on stage 4. So my first 2 stages were in slower time frames, groups. I raced 1 stage with the Europe guys, and I just held on to the front pack, but I didn't score squat for points because I couldn't sprint, right? I just had to hold on for dear life, where the slower races I could sprint and I cleaned house on the points. So I finished kind of mid-pack overall on both the sprint and the time classifications because I kind of hit both ends of it. I did a lot of fast racing with the EU guys and sacrificed some points, but I did some slow riding where I could dominate the points in the North America time frames, and I ended up like somewhere around 35th or 40th overall in both of those classifications, the time and the points, the sprint points. They had one brutal climbing stage that was like, we all are a little more familiar with the Zwift climbs. It was like racing 3 intervals on the volcano, just up and down.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 13 miles total in 3 big hill climbs. And I can't hang with the big boys on that. It's guys like Tepe or Felty was in the front of that pack, just crushing it. So
how many people were sort of, I think I saw 75.
So Toto said in my stream, I think he said when we were about stage 3, he had 200 and some participants at that point. Okay. It was big. I got into a Europe race that actual race had over 75 or 80 humans in it. Like, I think our pin 1 was almost 100% humans. So every race that it still did the IndieVelo, it split into 4 pins, and there was a minimum, I think, of 50 in the pins. So if they split like 10 into pin 1, there'd be like 40 bots in there. 40 AI riders. Let's quit calling them bots. That's a big,
yes.
That was a big topic. The bots are awesome, but
they are awesome.
I said this on my stream. If I had a choice, you said 100% human, 100% bots, or 50-50 on IndieVelo, I'd pick 50-50 every time. The bots are unpredictable. They animate a race, and as a savvy human racer, I can play off of the bots' spontaneous actions, right? Like, we can play with the bots. If a bot attacks, you can go and you can bridge to that bot. Like, they will do things that are unpredictable. Bjorn and I actually talked about it a lot midweek, about enjoying the unpredictability. I know what a human's going to do. I know when I need to be prepared for the human attack, usually, because we all kind of hit those the bots, they're unpredictable. You can't prepare for it. You just got to go.
2K bot attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have
predictability.
Stamina. They're
well,
good.
I think it's an education thing, because Zwift ruined the word bot. People think bot and they think pace bot. They think of a bot, a robot riding at 2.4 continuously and never going above 2.4, never going below 2.4. So when IndieVelo came out and everyone's like, well, they're just bots. These bots don't ride at a continuous pace. They also have fatigue. So if a bot does attack, he's choosing to do that attack, go into fatigue, and then not attack after that because he can't. He's used up his watt W balance.
I'm going to disagree on it's Zwift's fault. I'm going to defend Zwift here. You're claiming that it's Zwift. I think it's Zwift people or Zwifters are the ones that are implying that a bot is a negative thing. It's because
you're correct on that.
Because they were like, because Zwift didn't put any bots in, and so there was like it was what is it? Organically grown. The community was organically grown. It's like if you see somebody else, they're a real person. When you had this might be a lack. Like maybe Zwift wanted to put bots in, and they just didn't have the programming to do it all the time, and so they could just do pairs like 4 or 5 pace bots. That might be a limitation. That's speculation right there. But the hey, we can program bots in RGT and in Ruby, and I don't know if Ruby can, but like in other, and then IndieVelo eventually, to fill the gaps of not having real people on the thing, on the platform. Then it's like, oh well, then it's not a real person, so then I don't want to be involved with it, and it's the stigma there. It's not so much that Zwift is saying that, oh well, bots are negative and we're just doing pace bots. I think it's just people not giving the bots a chance.
Yeah, I would challenge somebody to join an IndieVelo race, and sometimes like you don't know, right? They don't mark who the bots are, so you don't really know. If you're not a regular IndieVelo rider, I would challenge you to figure out who is a bot and who's not when you ride the race, because you don't really know.
Yeah.
Today we only knew that they were humans because they were immediately and aggressively responding to the attacks. There was 4 of us in a break, and they were coming in like, are they humans? And I'm like, I think they're humans. And then, you know, like some of the IndieVelo specialists that were there, they're like, yeah, they're definitely human. Because it was like, there was one other guy on my team who I knew was a human. And like every time we would punch, those guys immediately covered it, which the bots won't usually do that. They'll let the gap go, right, 1 or 2 seconds, and then they'll surge back. Where these guys, like, if I lit up my tail light green, he was immediately on me. Like, he didn't let me get the gap.
Well, I noticed watching your stream, Casey, there was a few people that had their name as, you know, so-and-so bot.
Yeah.
All right.
I was like, is that a tactic now? Like, is that a bot or is that a person? There's bot in his name. Maybe it is a bot.
But I really enjoyed it. I was surprised. It's flute practice time, apparently.
We hear the flute music. I mean, keep going.
So yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed IndieVelo this week, and the way they had it set up. It kind of brought me back to, there was nothing pulling me to IndieVelo, so I wasn't going there and riding. But once I rode it for 4 or 5 days, I'm like, this was a lot of fun. And I rode a couple races that were almost completely bots, and I rode a couple that were almost completely human, and they were all fun, and they were all different, and they had something better to offer. It also made me realize, when we go back and talk about Zwift Racing Score, I was off the back in the climbing race, but I still enjoyed it because I was finishing around other people. They were humans. I was chasing a guy 3 seconds up the road. There was a guy 5 seconds behind me. Like, those are still fun races to do. So
they are.
Yeah.
From
if
a
you
spectator
race
standpoint, I quite enjoyed watching all of your tour races. When I saw the pop-up notification, like Casey is doing IndieVelo Tour, I was like, oh crap. And I would drop everything I would do because I was like, man, that was fun to watch.
Yeah, it was interesting. Somebody commented on that. It may have been you, Lee, but
probably was.
There was some comment about that at one point, and some agreement in my chat. Number one is I was getting more viewers than normal this week doing IndieVelo. They were interactive, but they were enjoying watching the race. And I finished every race with, at one moment in that race, every moment had a moment where I felt like I was done. Like I was about to be spit out. If somebody attacked, I was done. Every single race, even the ones that I swept the points on, at one point in that race, that bot pushed me to my limit.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is like, if you give it a chance and you find something, as my mic moves, you can enjoy the bots. Like, I enjoy the bots in RGT, and I enjoy the bots in even Bike Terra. You can get something out of it. I did a race. I did the Bell Lap thing, the Zwift Labs thing, and we had some, because it's the shorter route, so like breakaways are a little bit harder to get away. There was a split. There was like 2 people that went up the road. Okay, I know where I'm going to go, and I kind of jumped over, and then we didn't work together. That's what racing is like, the fun part about it. And when humans are good at it and bots are good at it, it doesn't matter who you're racing with. You're just having a good time.
Yeah, agree.
The flute. You muted the flute.
Actually, the viewers can't hear the flute.
That's all right. You can leave it up. I don't mind the flute.
We can hear the flute.
Well, we hear the flute perfectly, because we have good
Good
ears.
headphones.
Yeah, probably coming through us,
Noise
maybe through
gate
the
is
stream.
removing the flute.
Maybe
before.
so. But
Okay.
we listened to Brian's right next to him. He has a shower near his studio. So whatever.
Yeah, the
And
flute's
I've been in a
like
car.
5
so
foot behind that door.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, anything else that's sort of like
No, for me
pressing?
this week it was the IndieVelo was great. Shout out to those guys. It was fun. Again, I feel like I finished higher than I should have. So I guess that's a reflection on, guys, we can not be the top of category and have a lot of fun still. I did my whoosh race, and my whoosh was my whoosh. It worked good. It was fun. They absolutely shredded me at the end because they just kept attacking late. And they were a little stronger than me, and I was pretty fatigued coming out of the IndieVelo thing. So I finished 5th or 6th in the sprint there, but it was basically a break of 4 or 5 of us coming up to a sprint, and I failed on the sprint completely. Lee got in some Ruby, right? How'd the Ruby go?
Oh, hold on. I got a real-time update. My
Okay.
brother just texted me. I got the pants ordered. I got the bike prep, new front brakes and rear shock rebuilt and shifter adjustment.
Nice. You know what?
He's back on the bike. So that's the thing about that's the bonus.
As much as we rag on Zwift from a beginner standpoint, it is an excellent platform.
It was cool. It was really cool seeing him smile, and like he did 10 minutes.
And he was super exciting.
He was super gassed, and I'm like, I have
someone else is really excited about it.
Yeah, and he's like, and then I came because I came home from San Diego, and then we rode together on Tuesday, and he's on. What happened is we forgot when he first tested it because we dusted off his V4, and then connected it. He was on max gear because he was on like a big sprocket. Like he took his whatever mountain bike sprocket and put it on the cassette on there, and he was just like maxed out. And I'm like, oh. And then when we got him on, because I would just use my Zwift on my laptop. Then we got him on the Apple TV. Now I know why the trainer difficulty is important. We slid the trainer difficulty over, and he could shift finally because he was like, man, I was in max gears. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, oh, that's the trainer difficulty because I'm so used to being 100%, and I just should shift with my bike. Now I know why the TD conversation is so huge is because people have different kinds of bikes.
And there's a little bit of a hack that you can try with them for the kickers in the Wahoo app.
Okay.
When you open the trainer, the device settings, there's a tire size in there, and you can manually enter a tire size. Because I run a 1x on the front, so I only have like a 42
he's a 1x on the
frog.
front. Yeah.
So I up my tire size, like for IndieVelo and for my Rouge, I up my tire size manually to like 2.5 meters, which is bigger than a mountain bike tire. But it slides my overall gearing up enough that I can do a normal race without spinning out in a sprint. And if he's running like a 30 tooth or a 32 tooth 1x mountain bike, like he needs to make that tire size a lot bigger.
Okay, so I'll tell him to crank it up.
Yeah,
that's a good
find
tip.
the sweet spot. Find the sweet spot in his cassette, right, where he's got enough to sprint, but he's got enough to climb, and you can fine tooth.
Yeah, we had a couple of hurdles we had because like it was so old, it was dusted off, and we had to dust it off, and then I had to find the bag with his, because I'm through axle with my quick release, and he's on disc mountain bike. I'm like, dude, where's that bag? And then we couldn't find the power supply, and I ordered him a power supply like 2 years ago from like a random bike shop because I think Wahoo didn't have them in stock. This is like still during the pandemic or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, bike shop might have it. So he has 2 power supplies and we finally found the insert things for that. And it's, he's enjoying it. And I'll tell him about the hey, increase the wheel size and then he can get more. Cause he was like, he was enjoying it. Not that he was putting power, but the thing is maybe he can get into it more and I'm like, hey, do group rides and you can do a group workout or you can, and, he's offsetting it so that he can have fun with his mountain bike outside. And that is, like Lee said, and we talked about this, is like, this is the one hurdle that's easier to get people onto because there is that community and that sort of like low hanging fruit, sort of like get somebody on the bike to not stare at the wall. I would recommend, doing like you have to be founders to do. It seems more challenging to do like because somebody asked me about why'd you get my whoosh? I was like, let's just get Zwift and see what it does and see if he's like into it. And his smile, I'm like, okay, let's go with this. If it was like a lot of hurdles and a lot of other issues, then I probably wouldn't have pushed it as much, because I was trying to say, hey, you already have the trainer, like it's an old trainer that, it worked. Let's get an old laptop, see if it worked. And he was just like, I don't know if these laptops will work. And his wife was like, boom, Apple TV, television running. And he was up and running.
No, I think that's like, we rag on Zwift a lot. We do.
Yeah, of course.
And I think from a new user perspective, if someone was like, what should I do? I'd be like, oh, go ride on Zwift.
That's why I did that.
People have tons of fun. The main reason why we rag on Zwift is we've been around for 10 years. And the movement in Zwift has been pretty stagnant for 10 years. Like, they've added things. Pack dynamics is good. Zwift racing score is amazing. But it's like, in 10 years, all that should have happened in 3 years. Like, the development has been glacial pace, for what an old time user has seen. From a new user, that I can see coming in from a new perspective.
We talked about that a little bit, kind of related to that in some of the IndieVelo stuff I was doing, because that IndieVelo tour that I did was a tier 1 event.
Right.
So tier 1 was heart rate required, smart device power required, and auto DQ enabled.
Okay.
So everybody in there had to have a smart trainer that provided power to the game. They had to pair their heart rate monitor, and there was active DQs running. I actually know there was one rider that
no power meters.
No straight power meters, no dumb trainer power meter. Yeah,
so the primary had to be a smart trainer.
Yeah. And there was no secondary requirement. And Toto,
okay, that's tier 1. Yeah, tier 1 is no secondary.
He got some push to go tier 2, and he's like, I wanted this to be available for a lot of riders, but we needed some filter, right? He wanted to have some filter, and he's like, I felt like tier 2, which basically was all of that plus requiring the secondary power meter to be paired also. He felt like that would cut too many people out, which I agree with what that was. I think that's one step too far. But we had a lot of participation for a tier 1 event, right? That had that level of requirement. Mm-hmm. I felt like that, and that's the stuff I think Zwift's missing, right? That type of stuff, that those additional
community run stuff, or their own sort of like requirements.
You see a little bit of it, I guess. I shouldn't jump too, because they do filter what events participation now. Like, you have to have a power meter and you have to have a heart rate monitor. I don't know that they ever filtered on you have to have a smart trainer, but they at least have a little bit of filtering. But I think it's that combination of the smart trainer required, and the auto DQ part is the one, like, and it doesn't even have to be like hardcore auto DQ. What Zwift is missing is Zwift isn't even tackling the low-hanging fruit, right? Like, in one of the IndieVelo rides, they said I don't remember what it was, but there was a guy doing 1100 watts at 80 kph off the front for like 30 seconds, and boom, he's gone. He's out. He's just gone. And there was another guy who, this was a little bit of I think at the people at the front end of the race were chatting about it, right? The elite racers a little bit, but there was one guy who got auto DQ'd in one zone, and he came back in the next zone and he got second place. And I think he's in the top 5 overall in the event, but he actually triggered an auto DQ at one point. I'm not sure what he failed on, but he came back and was able to do a different time zone and compete.
So I have thoughts about this auto DQ, because I think I've heard of this before, because when it was first instituted by IndieVelo to have the different tiers, there was some testing, and sometimes somebody's heart rate is weird and then they have to reconnect, and you're automatically poof, you're gone.
Yeah.
Would something like I'm just thinking, like, this is super probably difficult to do, but it'd be kind of cool, is if like you get pulled to the back and you're speaking to like a virtual commissaire, like it's in the game where like you go to the referee at the back or like a moto at the back, and it sort of like holds you back, and then they sort of discipline you and go, what's going on, or blah blah blah, and it's like prompting you. And then if you're like, oh, well, I did this sort of thing, and then it allows you back in the race, so you're not just poof gone, and then you have to sort of like, kind of the way Brian got booted from the hour whatever the hour
It
power
gives you a
that he was doing.
10-second penalty that you have
Yeah,
to
it's something where it's like hey, you have time to get your heart rate dialed in, or something's weird where we've seen this anomaly, come to the back. Because like when you're in a real race or whatever, and you cross the center line or you do something, like the moto will like pull you to the back and talk to you. You're not totally removed from the race unless it's really egregious. But if it's like, hey, let's just see if we can do like figure something out, and then we can allow you back into the race.
Yeah, I know when Brian went through that early on, I know when they started testing it first is they got a little too over anxious, and I think they've solved that, and that Brian got caught up in that a little bit. But then I thought I read somewhere, and I'd have to go back and look, but on some things, I think maybe the heart rate one is it would give you a warning on the screen, and you would have 60 or 90 seconds or something to try to get it better before it booted you.
I think that's sort of a new thing.
But yeah, like I'm with you. You kind of got to be careful. Like somebody will try to exploit it, but also
totally.
like,
yeah, it's like a coffee ride. It's like, oh, I can
pull them back to the medical car, right? They bring him 20 seconds behind the pack, right, and be like, okay, this is the issue. You can open the pairing screen. You've got 60 seconds to pair something else to solve this, and then we'll release you from here, and you got to catch back up without triggering another
Vincenzo Nibali, where he holds onto the car, or going back to I have a headache, I need to go talk to the medical car, and they're like holding the car, and so that's the sort of, yes, someone will exploit it, of course, but it's like it would be nice to be able to like poof, you're gone, and then you're like, how did I get this?
It depends on what you flagged, right? It depends on what you flagged. If it flagged something that's typically considered just an egregious bad thing, right? Then they're out. But if you lose connection to a heart rate monitor or lose connection to a cadence, right? Like I think I had that in a race, or somebody had that in a race, where it's like, I had it in a Myrouche race where I got so far into the race and it didn't even click in my head. Like you don't look at cadence, right? And I looked up and I'm like, oh crap, my cadence isn't paired, and like cadence is required in the OTR races. Yeah. And I was like, so while I'm riding along, like I opened the pairing screen and paired the cadence. And then after the race, I pinged the guy, and he's like, no, you're good. Like I've looked at enough of your data, and you added it as soon as you figured it out, right? Like no big deal. But that's the type of thing, right? That like just give them a warning, let them open the pairing screen, let them do it, and move on. But if it's whatever it is, right? 1,000 watts for a minute and a half, right? Like you don't get to fix that. No.
That's where it's like, that's where the smart commissaire, where it'd be like, or like a thing where it'd be like, hey, you have your power meter is your primary, and your smart trainer is your secondary. Do you need those to swap? And you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that. Boom, and then you do it, right? That would be like, okay,
you're a complete stop, swap them, and then continue. Because that would be enough of a penalty.
Yeah, that'd be like, okay, cool. But then if it's like, hey, 1,000 watts for a minute and a half, that's more of like, we're putting you in the sin bin. Poof. We're gonna come talk to you later, because that's way too. That's way too out of the normal.
It's tough if it's in just like a standard, doesn't mean much race. But I feel bad because we're talking Brian White's situation was he got basically annulled and DQ'd by the anti-cheat software during a hour record attempt. Which he probably would have gotten if he hadn't been stopped.
Yep. And he was on accurate equipment that had poor reception at the time. There was the issue was not anything about what he was doing. It was a reception issue, poor quality signal that was triggering.
Why he needs a Wi-Fi heart rate monitor.
Right. Yeah.
The big brick. Yeah. The big brick.
Iron Man costume.
Ruby. Let's get a little Ruby in.
Ruby.
You're hyped
Mm.
on this. I'm telling you. Like I was watching your stream.
I have fully come to the realization of what annoyed me with Zwift, and Ruby
Fixes
solves
those.
that.
Solved
Yeah,
it.
fixes
Okay.
that. Like, I thought I really liked Zwift because there was people in Zwift, and I probably said that on this podcast early days of like, oh yeah, Zwift has got people. But I think what was happening was the people were masking the fact that I was doing the same route every day and there's no other routes to ride and they all end in the same place. So I was just getting on Zwift, riding a route that I hadn't completed and being like, look at there's people. There's people. And when I got back onto Zwift after my sort of summer off, I'm like, wow, I haven't done any of these new routes for the grade. You know, they came up with like 10 new routes. I'm going to like get them off my list because I do enjoy, you know, doing those activities. You know, oh, you want me to ride this route and I get like bonus? Hell yeah, I'm going to ride this route. And after about 4 routes finishing on that Mayan climb, and I looked at the other routes and was like, they all end on the Mayan climb. I'm like, this sucks. Zwift, you gave us 11 and a half kilometers of new road, but you gave us 287 kilometers of new routes, but you only gave us 11 kilometers of new road. You're just riding the same road. And it just, that dawned on me was like, that is annoying. And so I went back to Ruby, which I hadn't ridden in 3 years, and I haven't ridden the same road once. I found I just like looking at scenery. Give me something nice to look at. Scenery, new scenery, not the same scenery I've ridden 72 times. But I mean, like, you guys have way more kilometers than I do in Zwift. I'm at like 28,000 kilometers. I worked out the math that I've ridden every road 72 plus times in Zwift.
That's a
72
lot.
times. That's a lot.
So
Zwift,
you're not wanting people on these roads in Ruby. You just want to see new things
I'm trying to
wherever
get my
you are.
workout done or trying to get a ride done, and I just want to look at something nice. The video quality in Ruby has gotten to a point where I'm riding along some coastal route along Sicily, going, I'm staring at the ocean, going, it feels like real riding because that's why I ride outside. I ride outside to ride along the ocean, to look at things, get lost in thought, and Ruby has given that to me. Yes, there's some weird niggly things. The video quality sometimes is distorted on the sides, but I don't really notice that now. Ruby, you can turn people off. You don't want
So
to
you can
ride.
just turn them off.
Yeah, you can go into settings and be like, no people. I'm on this by myself.
Oh.
And which is funny is because that's what a lot of people do. I mean,
Yeah,
and
that's why
Ruby,
when I watch you, you're just riding.
and it's actually
I
not
just see
like
the
you're riding
video.
with people. Like it's like RGT. The routes aren't circular. Most of the routes are point to point. So what happens is when I start a route, I might be 5 minutes ahead of somebody, or someone else is 5 minutes ahead of me. So a lot of times, like that stream that I did on Saturday, I actually 2 people caught me. That's the first time I've ever seen anybody like in game.
Catch you, but you're only getting caught on the little mini map, the little mini profile at the bottom. They're not riding next to you because you've turned all the people off, or you leave the people on.
No, I had the people on, and they did catch me, and you did see their augmented reality person. Yeah, as Marble points out in chat, Bruce Bird, he caught me. Bruce Bird. Why are you so damn fast?
Why is he on Ruby with you?
Well, that was funny. Bruce Bird. I actually know who that is.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
I went and did a
know
random
who that
route.
is. I don't know him personally, but I know him through you.
Yeah, from esports. I know who Bruce Bird is, and I jumped into a route. Ruby has 1,500 routes, and there I see Bruce Bird, and I'm like, I wonder if that's the real Bruce Bird. So I'm riding and Googling, and I'm like, that's the real Bruce Bird.
So when he passed you, did you be like, oh, he must be cheating? He's too fast.
But you know what's funny is if you looked at his watts per kilo in any other game, you'd be like, that guy is cheating.
Oh, he's a beast.
But I know what that's realistic. But if anyone else didn't know who he was, you'd be like, dude, there's not a chance you're putting out that wattage. And I was like, oh shit, he's catching me. He gained like 13K on me in like a 20K route.
I think we actually had those moments. Scott may know in chat too. I actually think we had some of those moments in elite racing when Bruce came indoors and started. I mean, he just started pummeling us on community races, amongst the elite back in the day. And we're like, who is this dude? When you finally did the research and figured out who it is, it's like, oh, okay. We had that. Oh, what was her name? We had the lady come in that held some records in the UK, and she joined one of like the Nathan Guerra streamed KISS races and was just beating the tar out of us at the front of an A event back in the day. And everybody was like complaining, it's no good, all that. And you looked it up and it's like, she had like 4 or 5 Guinness World Record
Right,
like things. Gosh, I can't think of her name. Because she
and
ended
an
up
uncalibrated wheel on trainer. There you go.
yeah.
Well, remember Bruce from the RGT national champs, because it was Tom Thrall,
Yeah.
Bruce Bird, and the guy who eventually ended up winning. And Bruce Bird kept on dropping off, and you're like, he's done. And then all of a sudden, somehow he would just be
He's
back
like
in the grid.
he's like a Fondo world champion, right?
He's
Spurt-
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah. And he's
It was, Matt
not
was
a young
born.
man.
Matt
He's
was
not
born.
not a young man either.
Oh, he's in his 50s.
Yeah.
He's 56, I believe, is what when I Googled stock.
Go find that old video, and Lee and I are big fans of that old video. It's the RGT Canadian National Championships from 2022.
Canadian National Esports Championships
2022.
have produced some of the best esport races of all time. The RGT one,
Canada's
Tom
a
Thrall,
lot of excitement.
and this year's 2024, where Tom Thrall came back.
Yeah, that was a good one.
A cancer survivor too over here in chat for Bruce. So good on him.
Yeah.
Keeping at it.
It's just funny because in most of the Ruby rides I've done, there's been like 15 to 20 people. And I'm shocked that there actually is usually that many people in the route, because there's so many routes to choose from. So to see someone that I actually knew was quite surprising.
Is there in-game chat? Like, I know, like early days in IndieVelo, I would just type like "hello" and see if you got like are they real people or not?
Yeah, there is like along the top side right, there's 3 buttons you could push. One is good ride, follow me, and you lead.
Okay.
And what you do is when you click on nice ride, just as something like scrolls up, and you have to time it exactly when you pass them. Otherwise, there's no in-game chat. There's no communicating in-game. Like it is solo rider. It's like if you went out for a ride in real life and some random dude passed you and you're like, hey, there's a random dude. You don't care that
you
he's
don't need to
you.
exchange information. Okay, so let me ask you this. What do you guys think of this? Are you guys wanting that ability to then connect?
No.
Ruby people are
no, not Ruby people. Any people, any like on it.
Not free riding.
The way you add a friend on Zwift, or the way you can message somebody directly, is that interesting enough to be like, hey, I like the way you ride. I want you to join a team, blah, blah, blah. No.
Not unless we're getting into events, not unless we're racing, we're getting into something that's competition, something like that. No, otherwise, no.
No. So you wouldn't want, let's say if you didn't do it in game, could you contact somebody through like the web, through the web profile thing to go, hey, good ride, or just a thumbs up? Any interest in that?
No,
because people like the social stuff. I'm just curious, like, how far do you want to extend it?
I'm assuming like if like Lee and Bruce are riding on there together, I'm assuming when you upload to Strava, it shows you riding with Bruce or around Bruce, and like I'll get the random comment on a Strava ride or race, hey,
so Strava is where it should go.
Yeah, and that to me, I don't think we need 1,000 places for that. If everything's going to Strava, just like there's a lot of times where I'll go give like just the thumbs up in Strava, right? The kudos, whatever, to somebody that rode with me a lot, or like ladder races, right? Like I don't exchange a bunch of like, oh, nice job, all that. But I'll go do the thumbs up kind of thing.
Oh, flute.
I don't think Bruce Bird
Somebody came in the back
cares
door
to
for you.
have me fanboying while he's just trying to get a ride in. OMG, it's
No,
Bruce
I'm not saying.
Bird. Oh
Okay,
my God.
no.
Like,
It's a practical thing, not
practicality for races, yes.
for
But just
like
in
for like,
general.
hey, that was a good ride. Hey, do you want to join my team or blah blah blah? That sort of like, if you don't have anything, just doing it during the ride is one thing, but like Casey's saying, yes, there's you can follow up through Strava if you can find them on Strava, if it's even feasible. I was just curious, like, what's your guys' take? Like, yeah, there should be some sort of communication in, not voice chat, none of that, but like, could I message somebody in game? Is that a feature that you would want in Ruby, since it doesn't exist, but it exists in other platforms?
I haven't dived
Would
deep.
that be better?
Ruby, you can add friends. So you can go into like search for people and add them as a friend, whether you can message them offline as a friend. They have to accept your friend request.
It's like, okay. So it's kind of like Nintendo does that. Nintendo sort of, they don't have console to console communication. It's all run through, like, I think their mobile app. Like, they have a secondary mobile app, and they're like, hey, if you want to find somebody, you need to add them as a Nintendo friend, which is sort of like, privacy one things, but also like, hey, we're going to connect via outside of Nintendo. But it's like, sometimes you want that sort of communication to say, hey, I had a good race. Like Mullins and I spoke a little bit after our Echelon thing. And it's like, if I didn't have the ability to communicate with Mullins through Zwift, I don't know if I would ever found him to like talk to him and say, hey, like, we got booted from our race.
Nulled.
No, not even annulled. I'm like, I don't exist. I don't exist in that race. Like, let me see if you can find my old races.
He's out. Throw him out.
Gone for good.
I think it's actually gone for good. Power.
Didn't even race in that race.
I bet.
Yeah, I don't even think I'm in that.
I bet it's on Strava.
Oh, it's on. It exists, but it's not in the Zwift Power. All right. See if I can.
Zwift Power is getting shut down tomorrow morning anyway. So
I hope so.
Yes, let's go back to reckless speculation for the people who weren't here at the beginning.
Okay,
that Zwift Power is not going to exist tomorrow.
I think
Zwift Power is going to exist, but the race categories are not going to exist. That's the secondary.
Just need to have a bonfire out in front of Zwift in the morning, right? Just throw the Zwift Power server into a burn barrel and light it up.
Just fold it in. Yeah. So okay, here we go. So the reckless speculation is Zwift Power is going to go and wipe all of the category, which is then in parentheses on Zwift Power, pace group. So there's race ranking, number one. Then there's category, which is B. Then there's Zwift racing score, which is 505. So I'm 505.73. There's Z points, which is 4 things. Those are the 4 things, right?
Yep.
And we're the reckless speculation is we're going to go to 1.
Yep. They're doing maintenance, and
they're doing maintenance. All right.
They're doing maintenance in 12 hours, and they never do maintenance. I think they should blow away 3 of those categories. I hope that's what they're doing. Just get rid of it. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Echelon Racing League. Number 2. Oh, I'm actually in there. Here, let me share my screen. Is this what we want to do? Or do you want me to share my Lee, I think you need to share my screen. Here, I'll give you the thing you got to look at. I'll send it to you. Reckless speculation here. There, bring that up on the thing here. So I got the WKG from that race. And so if you go to unfiltered, yeah, I'm in the unfiltered results. So Mullins and I are both in the unfiltered results. So yeah, there you go. So I technically, because the event was set up a certain way, I did too much for 20 minutes. This was the 20-minute thing, right?
Yeah.
This is the 20-minute thing.
It's like they gave you, I think Zwift Power always would allow you to go over by like 1/10 or 2/10, but if you went over more than that, it would boot you.
Yep. And I only won by 5 seconds from Mullins.
This has been quite a while ago, right? This was before.
This is January. This is like December 2nd. Yeah, almost a year. It's still, and Ned Bowen won that race. Congratulations to Ned.
Still stings a little. Oh, so you got WKG'd out of a B race.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I broke away.
That hurts.
21 minutes.
I remember that.
Instead of 19 minutes. If I would have done 19 minutes, I probably would have stayed
Just
in.
attacked a little later.
Yeah, there you go. So go to Unfiltered and you'll see.
I bet you're not getting away from Ned nowadays.
No way. I'm terrible.
He's a beast.
There you go.
Ryan, why would you go and do that? Why would you go over?
Because I
You should
wanted to
know
break
better.
away. I
You
know.
bad sandbagger.
Look at all the red. Look at all the red.
It was really Mr. Mullins' fault. All right, baited him into it.
You just hit filtered and you see it. Look, I have all red except for my average heart rate. Max 178. That's too much. 4.4 for 20 minutes in a B race because that was a B. I actually thought I was a B.
4. Thought you were a B until this race.
Well, this because
Then you're
this
like, no,
race
you're-
meant something.
You're a mid A.
That was the problem, and I brought this up a year ago. Was I hadn't been doing a lot of racing and Zwift and stuff like that, so all their data they had for me had me still as a B category. So I was still a B. So I signed up as a B. I raced as a B. Then I raced when it meant something, and I did over that, and that's why I got busted. And so there you go. So instead of commissaire coming and pulling me out of the race and going, "Hey, you're too much," it's just like you just don't exist. Like you win, I cross the line. The broadcast, like this is the broadcasters are like, "Oh, Kelson went across the line, get in the B category races." Him and Mullins broke, and then it was like, poof. I'm not there. So
It wasn't that long ago. I think I remember when we were talking about that.
it was almost a year ago.
Because you were
Well,
ramping up for nationals.
That's
'Cause
right.
that was December. So
Yeah.
that was only about a month out
That's right.
of nationals. So you were like getting to peaking, you know,
Yes.
before nationals. You were
Race
going hard.
Race score should solve all that too, right? There's no more
Yeah.
no
So
more
go-
you went over, you get upgraded, right? It's a post race upgrade,
Well,
right?
that's
So
why
then-
it works so
points.
well.
Yeah, then go
You
look
would
at
just-
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you just would have like got a better score. You wouldn't
Yeah.
have been watts per kilogram. You
So
just
here
would
you
have been
go.
like
I went from first in the B category to 51st in the A category with all the pros.
51st.
Yeah.
I
I got dropped and I lost by whatever. Like,
well, that's how Casey happened. They came
I
like
lost by
fourth in
20 minutes.
winning the TTT to like
Yeah.
being 13th out of 14.
Yep. Going to the back.
And Ned got moved up too to A's as well. So
He's-
Ned won the B, but then he got upgraded to A's.
He moved up to A's until they made the new B, and then he was a new B
Yeah.
in the new world. But now it's all going away. One more
Tomorrow.
week for you ABCD guys. It's one more week, October 7th, and kiss your letter goodbye.
I'm going to be on Zwift Power tomorrow, hitting refresh
Yeah.
as soon as I wake up.
Yep.
Going to be like, what is changed? Probably nothing. What I'm really hoping is there's going to be a notification saying Zwift Power is no longer. Please go to Zwift.com for all of your results.
I won't. Be
That is the
super
other dream.
disappointed.
So what's the new updates that's coming? Is this a Tuesday that has an update or no?
Is this an upgrade week for Zwift? I think it's been 2 weeks since we've had a Zwift release, so I think it might be a game update week. It could be. It wasn't an update this week, so it might be an update week too. Not sure. I think race score is going to be the big thing for this month, but we'll see. We'll see what rolls out here. Technically, all that code's out there, so There may be something else coming.
What's your race score again?
I am a 584 now. I seeded in at like 604.
There was 2 people in that racing score range, and there were 17 in mine.
Yeah,
that I did.
That's the struggle right now, and that's why I want to get it rolled out. Is especially in the higher pins, there's just not that many people showing up for it.
180 to 350, 0 people.
Yeah.
Raced.
The numbers should start going up, right? Like we're getting into indoor season. Numbers should start going up. We're losing daylight in North America, you know, and we're getting into winter time, the Northern Hemisphere. We should start rolling inside some. I know we've lost an hour of daylight in the last 4 weeks, right? Like it's going fast.
It is going fast, much faster. All right, is that it?
All I got.
Yeah, that's all we got. Congratulations to
All
Zwift
good.
to getting my brother on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm pretty
Congratulations
stoked.
to Zwift for making a decision, being like October 7th.
Yeah,
doing this.
I'm in. Yeah.
Make a decision and be firm.
Yeah,
Let's
this is what we're doing. Don't listen. What did we say this weeks ago?
Yeah.
Months ago, probably. Stop listening to the community.
Yep.
Even though you are now, because I had an interview.
50% of the community.
Yeah.
50% of the community is going to finish in the bottom 50% of their first Zwift race score race, right?
Yeah, stop listening to the community and tell the community what you're doing. That would be better.
Well, after seeing what the community thinks they know, it's difficult to want to listen to the community. Social media is very difficult to read through about these Zwift racing score posts and going, no, that's not what Zwift's racing score is. No, like every post is like, no, you don't know. It's like a ladder system. Like, how hard is this to comprehend? And everyone is like hundreds and hundreds of posts of like confusion because people have zero clue. And you're going, this is the community. Zwift, actually, please don't listen to the community.
Right.
Yeah, I think we're the only ones that are saying don't listen to the community, even though we're the community and we wish they would listen to us. But
Just
we're
us.
telling them, yeah, well,
Zwift, listen to me. I know what I'm doing.
yeah, well, fix the physics more, improve the physics more. That's what I want. But their physics are what they want them to be. I want them to be a little bit easier on the body. Always be. That was one thing I knew I had to do. Always be pedaling in that race.
Yep.
Always be pedaling. So, all right, play the music. Let's get out of here.
Everyone
Thanks,
enjoy
everybody.
the rest of their Sunday evening.
Yes, it's getting dark. I don't know how it is in Peoria. It's probably dark
It's
already.
dark here. Oh yeah, it's dark.
Oh yeah.
It's almost dark here.
Yeah.
I got to go fix a flute apparently.
It sounded great to us.
Yeah.
There's a screw loose apparently.
There's screws and flutes?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. It's a metal
Yeah,
instrument,
it's
not
in the
a.
keys. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.